Shifting focus to the UK now, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson kicked off a debate ahead of a parliamentary vote regarding the government's decision to cut the country's overseas aid spending by around £4 billion a year. The British Finance Ministry announced in November that it would cut aid spending to 0.5% of the national income from 0.7%. And this broke a 2019 pre-election commitment by the Johnson government. However, Johnson says that the UK's overseas aid spending is still more generous than other rich nations.
This mutation has led to more cases. In the teeth of this crisis, amidst all the other calls on our resources, we can take pride that the UK will still invest at least £10 billion in aid this year, more as a share of our GDP than Canada, Japan, Italy and the United States. And it would be a travesty if honourable members were to give the impression that the UK is somehow retreating from the field of international development or lacking in global solidarity.
Johnson told lawmakers the cut in foreign aid spending was necessary due to the cost of the coronavirus pandemic, which saw the UK's national debt reach historic highs. Last year, Britain's budget deficit was nearly £300 billion, or 14% of the gross domestic product. The Prime Minister showed lawmakers...
Under the pressure of... Last year, under the pressure of the emergency, our borrowing increased fivefold to almost £300 billion, more than 14% of GDP, the highest since the Second World War. This year, our national debt is climbing towards 100% of GDP, the highest for nearly 6 decades. The House knows that the government has been compelled to take wrenching decisions, and the International Development Act of 2015 expressly provides that fiscal circumstances can allow a departure from the 0.7% target. So I can assure any honourable member who wishes to make the case for aid that they are, when it comes to me or to anyone in the government, preaching to the converted. And we shall act on that conviction by returning to 0.7% as soon as 2 vital tests have been satisfied. First, that the UK is no longer borrowing to cover current or day-to-day expenditure, and second, that public debt, excluding the Bank of England, is falling as a share of GDP.
Government budget forecasters said in March that they did not expect the budget for day-to-day spending to be in balance before 2025. A number of Conservative lawmakers have voted with opposition parties during previous attempts to reverse the cut. Conservative former Prime Ministers Theresa May and David Cameron, as well as church leaders and charities, all criticised the cut, which they said would hurt the world's poorest as well as Britain's reputation, while saving relatively little money.
Mr. Speaker, every member here was elected on a manifesto to retain the 0.7% target. And it matters that we keep our promises to the world's poorest, particularly at such a time of global uncertainty.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.